Our regular viewers will remember Pratap Bose, who of course heads design at Tata Motors. Hi there.
Hi. Hi, Siddharth.
Thank you for thank you for letting us into your world today.
Most welcome.
I know that there's lots of people who have lots of questions for you, and of course we're going to get him to answer some of those for you directly as well. But first and foremost, let me get a sense from you on if there are some sort of key highlight words on the future of design at Tata Motors. What are those words?
It's going to be bold, it's going to be desirable, and it's definitely going to be memorable. And it'll help you sort of stand out from the crowd. So it's these 3 or 4 words that guide anything we do now.
Over the last few years, when it comes to Tata and design, very often there's a blurring of, for a consumer, let's say, there's a blurring between purely what is design and what is, quality or a perceived sense of finishing on a vehicle. Is there going to be a distinction firstly over there going forward? Do you think people will identify design more purely as a Tata design?
Yeah, I think, it works together, Siddharth. I mean, good design needs very good quality to actually express it. So, we're working very hard, for example, with our gaps, with our flushness, with how things come together. Because it's not enough to just have a pretty picture, the whole car has to come together in a certain quality way. And then you start appreciating the whole. So it will blur at that level, but we are working very hard currently to make good design and good quality sort of come together.
What's the, material is one thing, you've got to get good material quality as well.
Yeah.
There's also of course safety considerations in terms of, crumple zones and crash zones. And then like you said, the fit, you see these gaps and you see the shut lines everywhere.
Yeah.
You've got to enhance those as well.
Yeah.
How much of all of this needs to translate into the manufacturing process?
We showed you a clay modeling process today. Quite early in the clay modeling process, we already start working out these sections. So it's very, very important that it doesn't get sort of left behind and it's something you do at the end. Good quality has to be part of good design. And like we said, all the interfaces where material come together, different materials expand in different ways. They have different characteristics, they have different surface finishes, plastic and metal, etc. So to put cars together with a multitude of materials that we use today is quite a challenge, and we picked that up early in the engineering and design process.
Now that's the thing. In fact, you touched upon an interesting point, because in the past I remember when I used to talk to designers, they used to almost give you a sense. Some of them would blatantly say that the manufacturing guys let us down. Today you find a lot more sort of a symbiotic relationship there, where you work closely with the engineering team, you work closely with the manufacturing team.
Yes. That
helps.
Yeah, it does. I showed you we share data much earlier than we ever used to. You're absolutely right. There used to be a silo mentality in companies that design would finish their work and then throw it over the wall, and engineering would pick it up, and then manufacturing. Today those walls have literally been broken. The digital process helps us a lot with that. And you can see we're working across geographies and time zones. It's not even someone sitting in another room, it's someone in another continent that we are simultaneously working with. So that's a big change.
3 things I want to talk about both these cars with you. I remember the expo as well, talking about how much I just totally love this tail light and how you managed to actually get the proportion right on the rear 1/4 of the car. So that's when it comes to the sedan. But the distinction between the sedan and the hatch, there's one school of thought that believes that you want the two to look sort of related to each other, so that it's the same model line with 2 body styles. And there's another which says, look, they've got different names, let them be completely different. How do you marry those two?
It is a challenge. It's a choice that the company...
What did you go with here actually? Let me ask you that.
To be very, very frank with you, we actually designed the Zest first. We designed the Zest first. We made sure we got the right proportion, the right silhouette, the right integration of the boot to the rest of the car. Yeah. Once that was done and we were happy with that, we derived the bolt from it. Usually it's the other way around. And
which is where the problems
can be. It's very challenging to integrate a short boot into the rest of the car. And we were very conscious of that. And this time we changed our approach to it. So the Zest was definitely done first. It really set up the proportion of the cars, and then we found that those proportions work very well on the hatchback as well. So as far as sharing is concerned, one sort of influenced the other. There's no doubt about it. But when you still look at both the cars, they're clearly for different segments of the market. They're for a different target customer.
So they have their own identity.
They have their own identity.
That's the second point. I mean, if you look at the face of this car, of course you're picking up on this new family grille that you're looking at, and there are, like I told you earlier as well, the little chrome elements inside the headlamp housing, very nicely done. What's the one distinct characteristic when you look at just the face of this car that tells you that this is the Bolt?
See, what we've picked up, the humanity line, for example, which we speak about, we don't sort of highlight that on the Bolt because it's a sportier car, it's a smaller car. When you go on to the Zest, you'll see in a very subtle way, you'll see that in the grille, the humanity line is actually picked up.
Yeah, very prominently accentuated.
And we feel when that goes in chrome, for example, if we launch it in chrome, just that little subtle touch will enhance it or change the look. We've of course also got DRLs, LED DRLs in the Zest. That in the daytime running condition will give a completely different front visual look.
The shape, I mean, is that going to be like a distinct shape going forward?
Yeah. We have this hockey stick which sort of plants the car onto the road. It plants the car to the wheels. It's very important that everything in the bottom of the car actually points to the wheels and really holds down the car and gives it this planted look.
And you've got that line kind of going through the headlamp cluster as well. So that again looks distinctly different and yet has a similar feel.
So it's a very subtle, it's like two twins, in a way. But if you look at them carefully enough, you can tell the difference.
They don't really want to be confused with each other, yes. The third point, which I think has been really crucial for Tata Motors, is the interior. Now, I saw the interior on this car, and of course, we will keep seeing glimpses of it as we are talking. But just for the sake of it, let's go across to this dummy over here. And how important was it to get that right? Because it's not necessarily the shapes, it's also the quality. I mean, that's one thing that's been lacking.
See that, when we look at our interior, it was very important as one of the pillars is drive next. Very, very important to put the cluster in front of the driver. Traditionally, we've not done that. And that was one of the biggest shifts we made. So the cluster is in front of you, is there. You got nice, big, clear dials. And then you got a smaller steering wheel. We've gone for a 360mm steering wheel, which really feels sporty. And you feel connected to the car. So that's some of the stuff which we actually pick out from concept work like this that we do. The other thing is the layout. Everything that you need to reach and touch and control is in a certain zone, what we call our zone 1. And the last is, as you mentioned, is craftsmanship. Again, many materials and finishes coming together. How do you deal with the gaps, the textures, the gloss level? And I was mentioning earlier, even smell. We are now even, when you open the car, what does it smell like? So there's a new car smell.
You've got to get that right.
So all the senses really need to come together, and the interior is the most important part in establishing that, because I truly feel while the exterior attracts you to the car, you live with a car based on its interior. That's what you see
more often, right? Also the fact that you've gone asymmetrical with the design, it's a little bit more driver-centric.
Yes.
That's intentional.
Again, absolutely part of the driver focus. We really want our cars to be drivers' cars. Whoever's driving it, new powertrains, new suspension, that whole feel we really want to translate through this cockpit. So it's really very much a cockpit instead of an IP.
But I mean, let's look at this car, for example. I like the way you've gone with the dark colors on the inside. This whole obsession with beige in India. Thankfully, I'm not seeing that here. But here's where the worry comes in. I look at this, I say, all right, this exudes a certain sense of quality, and I'm liking the sort of dark tones. Will the base variant look as cool as that? How conscious are you of that?
No, I'm very conscious of that, in fact, and we have tried to ensure that through the range or through the grade walk, there are some basic things that every car will have. So the slight chrome detail on the aircon vent, the inner door release, you will see that. The piano black, what we call starlight black. It's got some beautiful little speckles on it. So you will see all of that. All of that will remain through the grade walk.
What about the steering? Maybe not the controls, but again the finishing on the colors.
Yes, the finish is exactly what you see here. It's this dark metallic silver. You can see we did a lot of work on different types of steering wheels. It's on the board there. And again, the section, the quality, it may or may not be leather wrapped in all variants.
That's fair.
But what you still feel will very much be of sort of high quality and high tactile feel.
Now this is a prototype car, or this is a pre-production.
This is
car.
basically pre-production.
Because you can tell that some of it is not yet
Yeah.
production ready. Now, again, going back, I know I'm sort of hammering home this point.
Please.
So when the Vista family and then the Manza family came out, if you looked at that design on paper and the functionality and the amount of features you got, it really looked good. But then when it came down to the actual plastics, that metallic gold, whatever color that was used, etc. Some of it had to do with considerations of the market and some perhaps pricing. How much of that have you been able to correct, or even maybe, let's say, insist on?
Yeah, Siddharth, we are maturing as a car manufacturer. We are also maturing as a car market, and Tata Motors, we are absolutely conscious of that fact.
Yeah.
And like I said, very early in the design, engineering, development process, we try to ensure that when things come together, they stay together and they come together in a certain way.
Yeah.
Because quality is nothing but that. So how two or three materials relate to each other, and we've taken every care in the world to actually get that right. So through the maturation process, the design engineering process, all of that has been baked in. We're using our international centers a lot more. We're using early supplier nomination, so the suppliers of those components come in early, work with us, tell us what we can and can't and shouldn't and should do, and hopefully what you see here is now preserved till the production of these cars. Plus retain newness.
Yeah.
Another issue, when you have this car for 4, 5, 6 years, it should retain those qualities. So again, it's engineered to do that.
Also, like the way the door's shut now, it's got a nice sound to
So
it.
that was all the work that was done on the seals.
Yeah, and you can tell because there is a distinct difference already. One, of course, hopes that all of that translates to the production cars.
Absolutely.
This is, of course, now the first big step in the new direction that you're getting into, the Bolt and the Zest. So the last question, and I know I can predict your answer here, but tell us, exactly just how far that direction is going to take you, because as I said, this is step one. You can still tell it has the antecedents of some of your previous models and your earlier lineup. What happens from here on?
So from here on, like I said, I can't obviously speak about specifics. You said that yourself. But, from here on, every product we launch will take our design philosophy further and further. It'll still be based on the 3 simple elements I spoke about, but they will be sort of expressed in completely different ways. And when Nexon hits production, you will really see all of that come together in a very, very powerful way.
Is that the name? Is that the model's name, or you don't know
I
that
mean,
yet?
of course, we call it Nexon. So.
Yeah, which is fair. I think. You got to do this red on the production version.
Sure.
It looks really.
It's
really
called
attractive.
Deep Red, by the way.
Deep red. All right.
Not very creative.
Wait till your marketing guys get at it. So on the brochure, it's going to be something exciting, dragon red or something.
Yeah.
But thank you. Always a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Look forward to seeing a lot more coming from you and your team.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Siddharth. Thank you.